This week on the Sports Hernia podcast, Clutch Sports Rich Paul versus the NCAA, Carmelo Anthony, Antonio Brown. Is it fair to say that these two athletes give off an aura of entitlement?
The NCAA, what is their gripe with LeBron? They've never had a gripe with him. They've never had a gripe with him. They've never had a gripe with Clutch Sports. From my seeing.
Okay, let me say this. Maybe they were trying to get ahead of something because he was eventually going to come to the NCAA side.
Well, he's already there.
Right,
and so were they trying to get ahead of it, or was it the NBA saying, hey, we're going to check this early and we're going to use you guys as a way to check it? I think it was hand in hand. I don't think this was NCAA thing.
It could have been that way, or it could have been the fact that NCAA were forward thinkers and probably got clearance from your boy Adam Silver. I could see it that way.
I know
it could be either way.
I know you guys didn't see me raise it, but I had a raise it because I'm going to tell you this, and we've seen this for years. Let me ask you this. When has the NCAA ever been foresighted? See, that's why you're laughing. This is what I'm telling you. The only
throwing scenarios out there.
What's the organization that has foresight?
NBA, of course.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. This is a ploy. In my mind. And so, dude, you asked me what was the first thing I thought. Right, my opinion. Okay. And so that was the first thing I thought because I just saw how the NBA was so pissed off and how that
makes sense.
How I just saw it, and it was. And mind you, now don't forget, this wasn't a 1-year thing. This was a basic, in their eyes, a 2-year manipulation by LeBron. This was and Rich Paul. This was basically a 2-year manipulation. Because mind you, 2 years ago, Rich Paul came out and said Anthony Davis wants to win, which was totally fine. But they were like, well, where's this coming from? Because we just won the playoffs, made a nice run against Portland. Right. Like, where's this coming from?
Right.
And then the rumors started coming out LeBron was leaving. So to me, it was all just lining up too easy. And then the cherry on top for me was when they were like, well, yeah, college coaches have to have bachelors or whatever.
And that's where
it just made me laugh at that point.
And see, that's where I kind of disagree. I think it was the NCAA because they saw how it was happening up in the NBA.
Right.
They were just posturing themselves, LeBron and his team. It was like, no, eventually this is going to come down our way.
I'll tell you the one thing that I will give them credit. They've always embraced the kids for the most part that have made it, even though they made the jump. They embraced Kobe. They embraced LeBron,
right.
Because they know that these younger kids look up to them.
Right.
They've never basically said, hey, that's never been the wrong thing. They should have never just jumped or whatever. They've never really come at them.
Right.
So to me, it's like, why would they do that to LeBron? I'm looking at it from a complete standpoint because you're basically like kind of boo-booing on some of these kids who look up to. And mind you, LeBron's talking to some of these kids.
And see, you made my point for me.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about this, even in African-American culture, every time we have a leader to start to ascend or broaden themselves and grow. What do? They try to knock them off.
Absolutely. And
that's what they try to do.
And like I said, I don't think the NCAA is that foresighted. To me. And like you said, to me, it could be a combo platter, but
I think it is. I think it's a combo platter.
And the reason why I say this is they've never had foresight in the sense that they had to be forced to a college football playoff system. They've been told multiple.
Well, they've never had an entity like LeBron do this. So this is kind of uncharted territory for them also.
Absolutely.
You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So they're like, okay, we see where this is going, what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Let's get ahead of this
Maybe. And like I said, to me, I think one way or the other, regardless, whichever organization it was retaliation against LeBron.
Yeah.
It was, or the organization, and how much control and power that they're perceiving that is coming down this pipe.
And we talked about how LeBron is that leader. Started with Mike with the shoes and him infiltrating and broadening himself. Yeah. Now LeBron comes in an evolved figure on a higher level, and he's getting these athletes to understand their personal power. Yeah. If you're Rich Paul, future agents out here, how are you approaching this going forward now? Now that you know what they tried to do, how are you going to navigate going forward after this has happened? Okay. Are you going to still be
solid
same aggressive, I'm just going to do what I'm going to do?
Right.
Or are you going to be more calculated going forward?
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give the perception that we're moving forward as exactly how we are, because you don't want to show that you're weak. But what you really are going to do is you are going to gradually back off.
Yeah.
Because now they're telling you they're aware of you.
Right.
But I'm not going to do it initially. No. I'm still going to be aggressive a little early. Maybe get an athlete or two here. Something top 10, number 1 and a number 3 recruited, number 1, number 5. I'm still going to be aggressive. But then I'll kind of back off.
Because this happened for a reason.
Absolutely.
It's not just these are the natural occurrences. That man upstairs is trying to you know what I'm saying? Get you to kind of like slow down.
And I talked to you about
attention.
This. Absolutely. And
Rich Paul, future agents, please pay attention.
Even ex-players.
They're not going to like us. They're not going to like us.
Even ex-players because
they're not going to like us.
Even ex-players because look at what the Big Three is allowing them to do
exactly.
now. The older players and the older players who are now becoming coaches like Penny Hardaway, who, mind you, they tried to blackball him.
Yes. Pay attention.
It's here.
Please. A lot of times I think we become entitled. You know what I'm saying? We just act certain way. Even like we talked about Carmelo. Mm-hmm. You know, how he had many years in the league, many teams, many chances, you know, to do some prominent things. You know what I'm saying? And the last two, like OKC and Houston, who gave him a chance, that debacle in New York for years. You know, after he took money where he's even admitted on ESPN, he had a chance to go somewhere else, thought about going to the Bulls. Mm-hmm. He didn't go, and we all know it was more because of the money.
Absolutely.
And he wasn't going to the Bulls. I mean, we know that, but it's okay.
He thought about it, but it was really money.
But it really wasn't a realistic thing from his standpoint.
No, not
he had
money.
His mind made up. Houston gave him a chance. OKC gave him a chance. Messed those chances up by being selfish, not wanting to come off the bench.
Now, when you say selfish, why do you say selfish? Because that's a great point.
Right, not open to other aspects to help the team, not thinking about himself.
Right, okay.
He's out the league. Antonio Brown, same thing. All this unnecessary attention he's causing with his new team. And I give Gruden credit for getting him out of that. No, man, because he cried and he did so much negative stuff.
Sat out and quit on his team.
Yeah, and here's another team, because he's talented.
Yep.
Another team picked him up, paid him what he wanted.
Yeah. And
now he's over there causing all this ruckus. The entitlement of African Americans in sports.
Mm-hmm. They're two different situations, but one, I'll start.
Same entitlement, though.
No, same entitlement behavior. One is because, and we're going to see more of it, whether we like it or not.
Of course.
A lot of these athletes are being babied early. Carmelo was a prodigy. I want to say he was being looked at, like I said, 12, 13, around that era, maybe even earlier. Mm-hmm. LeBron's kids are being looked at early. I mean, obviously, they've got a father figure and all that, so hopefully they'll keep their head on, and he's gone that direction. But these kids are being seen earlier, and so Carmelo was a part of that wave. He's early, in my opinion, early on, he was never really challenged. Because it came so easy to him. Because, like I said, this is two different guys, but same entitlement. He was never really challenged to the point where, like I said, we all know Syracuse. Syracuse has a history of players coming out of it. Derek Coleman was like this, very talented, never quite lived up to the expectation because maybe the work ethic. And then when he got to Denver, his most productive years were with George Karl. Same thing with Gary Payton and Kemp. They can argue all they want about George Karl, but George Karl had a demand of, you're going to be professional, you're going to do this, you're going to work on your craft, it's not going to be ISO and all this. Carmelo butted heads with that for years.
And why is that?
Because it's too team-oriented, it's
too unselfish.
Right, and he's never been that.
Exactly.
And maybe for that year and a half in Denver. Maybe for that year and a half when they went to against Kobe and all that. And it was like pulling teeth. You could see it was like George Karl was pulling teeth. So he's always just been a one-on-one guy. He's always been a self guy. Mm-hmm. And then we've talked about this in numerous hernias. Anyone that just plays for the money, max money, whatever it is, just for the money. And that's the perception that he's come off as.
Let me ask you this
before
you go deeper into your spiel.
Right.
And what we've talked about this, we never talked about on air, but the Jim Boeheim effect.
Right.
Of him when he was in Syracuse. Zone.
Never being challenged.
Defensively, never being challenged.
One-on-one ball.
Yeah, and he was the reason, like you say, why they won that championship that year.
And it came too easy. Now, with Antonio Brown, because like I said, Melo's taking the money. A guy like that, most people who just take the money, they end up getting burnt out. That's just how it plays. I don't care what culture you are. Antonio Brown, like I said, and then we spoke about this pre-production, he, to me, is the more disappointing one. He wasn't as highly touted. He's had to bust his butt. Pittsburgh comes from an organization where these receivers come in. You're usually the third one, and you work your way up. Santonio Holmes was like that. Your boy Emmanuel Sanders was like that. We've just seen a crop of those receivers just come out of there. So, and by the way, rest in peace, Daryl Drake, former Bears wide receiver coach as well, just passed away. Great wide receiver. He's just had his hands on so many great receivers. Like you said, Plaxico. So, and Antonio was one of those undersized guys that made it.
Yep.
And not even just made it, he has another year or two the way that he's done. Even if he goes 80, 90 balls, He's messed around in the Hall.
Yeah.
This man's had about 5 years.
He's going to go to the Hall.
He's about to have 5 straight years of 100+ catches.
He's going to go to the Hall.
We'll talk about this after this. And we'll talk about this after this.
Go ahead.
But this behavior here from him. This is the definition of the N-word.
Can't handle the truth.
Without even second thought.
Definitely.
He is showing us exactly why they call wide receivers divas.
Yeah.
He is showing, and it's not from production.
He's the new poster boy.
Yeah, completely.
Yep.
He is now the modern day Terrell Owens.
Oh my God.
He's brought
just as talented. Yep.
Just as talented,
but
needs attention.
I don't know was his dad in his life.
Yeah, well, we don't see it.
My mind's
and
telling me
these
no.
are the thing, and, the blonde mustache, the masked singer. All this, and we talked about this, like I said, pre-production. He's already like, and I don't want to say like LeBron, but in a sense, he's starting to look post-career.
And he's short.
Yeah. Oh God, I don't want to go into that, but he's looking post-career, and so I think a part of this is, and mind you, he was the one in Pittsburgh's locker room who was on FaceTime or whatever live. Yeah. So mind you, during the post game. This was post game. This was post game. Well, I know this was in a playoff thing or whatever. And he's talking crazy.
Yeah.
So this man needs attention, and I think he wanted to go out to West Coast because now he kind of wants to be like that guy that everybody's looking at. There really is no team in California that's dominant. The Rams are what they are, but nobody's like, oh, this is our California team.
Right.
The Raiders are really, it's really the Raiders and San Fran are California kind of teams.
Yep.
And I think he just sees himself as an opportunity to just make his name. I don't think he felt like Pittsburgh allowed him to make him a name, because it was always Roethlisberger's team. I think this is his way, especially on a team that doesn't really have any stars. I think this is his way of saying I need attention. And the privilege, going to the point of the privilege, it is a privilege to play in anything, to be in anything. When you're hired at a regular job, when you're in these organizations, it is a privilege, and especially when you're able to do something that you love.
Definitely.
And I know he loves the game. I know Carmelo loves the game, but they've taken it for granted.
Definitely.
Because of the fame, because of the exposure, and not understanding not only how it reflects on them, but how it reflects on the other athletes, how it reflects on the organization. They don't see it. It's all about them. And that's where the confusion comes in, because they don't see it as a privilege. They're like, it's all about me. And it's human nature, but the good human beings, the ones that really make impacts out here, they look outside of themselves. And to me, Antonio and Carmelo have, for the most part, not been able to look outside of themselves. It's always been about me. And even that interview that Carmelo did with Stephen A. Smith, there was some reflection. But, dude, you've been hearing this for years. You've been hearing this, and now all of a sudden you hear it as they've had to close the door on you.
Do you think he deserves another chance?
Which one?
Carmelo.
Well, Antonio's going to.
Carmelo.
Yeah,
Antonio's fine.
Absolutely. I think Carmelo deserves another chance. But
why? You have to explain, please.
Because he still has the talent. If you still have the talent, and talent still trumps.
Give you right to deserve another chance.
No,
this is what I'm saying.
Right, deserve? No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't
and
deserve.
That's my point.
Should he get another chance? Should he get another chance because of his talent?
He may.
But does he deserve it? No.
Exactly.
No,
that's my point.
He absolutely does not. But talent-wise, he absolutely should get in. He has to understand, dude, you're a 6th, 7th man. He has to understand.
Do you think he got that?
Oh, I think he knows it now.
Do you think he'll conform?
I'm not sure. He hasn't shown it. It depends on which team. If it's a playoff contending team, no. I tell you this right now. If Carmelo really wants to be realistic with himself, and if some of these players even care, I would have Lou Williams call him, maybe Pat Beverly. I would have a couple cats call him that really understand how to come off the bench and really talk to him, and even Chris Paul, because Chris Paul is at the end of his career where he's having to die. Now he may not be coming off the bench, but he's playing kind of benchish minutes.
But don't you think they've done it already?
I don't think the right people have. I think a guy like Lou Williams.
He's not a child.
But you have to treat him like one in a sense, and I hate to say it. Because he's been babied for so
That's not an excuse.
long. I didn't say excuse.
He's been a pro, NBA pro for so long.
But he's been babied for so long. The Knicks babied him. Name an organization that's come hard at him.
He's a grown man.
I get it, but name an organization that's come at him outside of George Karl.
That will conclude our show for this week. I would like to thank you all for listening once again. You could find me, Showbeat Nati, on Facebook at Showbeat Nati, Twitter, C Nati, Instagram, C Nati 3130.
And you can find me on Facebook at Al Lee, Instagram A Lee for Life, and Twitter A Lee 21 1996.
Next week, y'all. Peace.